Hey everyone, Sarah Picaro. Today's video is just going to go into more detail about complex trauma and what makes complex trauma so complex. What makes complex trauma so complex is that it's also relational trauma, and we are relational beings, meaning we thrive off connection. We need connection in order to survive. So when that gets really messy and mixed up and complex, we internalize it. It impacts us personally. So what makes relational trauma and complex trauma so complex is because we're relational beings, and it messes with the very beliefs of who we are, with the very beliefs that we hold and have about ourselves at our core. It messes with our self-worth, our value, and our place in this world when those relationships are skewed or toxic or manipulated, and when there's gaslighting and there's all kinds of whiffums, what's in it for me. When you're in a relationship with someone who has the what's in it for me attitude, a user, an abuser, a manipulator, it makes that relationship dynamic extremely complex, particularly if you're not a person who also has that same mentality and attitude. So thankfully, there's a lot more information out there about the experience of relational trauma, the impact of CPTSD or complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Generally, PTSD, which is known as post-traumatic stress disorder, was oftentimes, and I used to have this very same perception and view of it, was that it was only for veterans. It wasn't until I went through the second narcissistic relationship and I was speaking with someone about my experience and about the symptoms of what I was experiencing. And she told me, Sarah, I know that you think that he's the only one with PTSD because he's a veteran and he was military, but you are suffering from it too. It's the same thing. And I looked at her like a deer in the headlights. Like, what are you talking about? No, that's his. That's the reason why he's so messed up. That's the reason why he projected all that stuff onto me. That's the reason why this is so messed up. And she said, exactly, it's complex. It's not just PTSD, it's CPTSD. And he's not the only one that has it. And just stared at me. And it was in that moment, my mind was like, whoa, wait, are you saying that I have that? And of course, I didn't want to have the same thing that he had, because then I thought I would be just like him. And he was a narcissist. And I thought, well, does that mean I'm the narcissist because I have the same thing that he has? I don't want to be that messed up. And actually, I know I'm not. I feel like I am because of him. But I don't want to feel like that, because feeling like that and living the way that I've been living is not who I really am, is not who I'm meant to be, is not who I'm determined to be, not who I'm destined to be, not who I was designed to be. And I feel so off, so confused, so afraid, so lost. I don't even know where I am anymore. And that's the damage of CPTSD. That's the damage of complex trauma, this relational trauma. It is very complex because it's relational. It happens because of experiences that we have in relationship over time, but it's not just a one-time singular event. It happens over and over and over, and it happens slowly. And it oftentimes happens without us even being aware that it's happening. So it's very, very complex. It's very chaotic. And it's continual. So that C can actually mean different things. It's not just complex. It's craziness. It's continual. And it can make you feel like you're going insane when you've experienced complex trauma. So you may have heard the term complex trauma and wondered, what exactly does that even mean? It feels chaotic. It feels confusing. And I don't even know where to start. I just feel frozen. I feel stuck. I feel paralyzed. And I've wondered what this means and how did I even get here? And am I actually suffering from this? Do I need to go get an actual legitimate diagnosis, or just reading articles or watching videos on the internet enough to self-diagnose, to connect with the similarities, the stories, and the experiences of what those people have gone through and judge them against what I've gone through? And I want to caution you with that, because sometimes we can dig ourselves in a very deep hole that feels impossible to get out of, or it feels like this scarlet letter type diagnosis that we're going to live with for the rest of our lives. Thus meaning that we're agreeing to live with the symptoms of it for the rest of our lives. So indeed, the term complex trauma, relational trauma, developmental trauma, they are becoming more and more popular, because all of us are complex beings. We're all relational beings, and this type of trauma occurs and happens within relationships. It develops within relationships. So be careful of the diagnosis, specifically self-diagnosis, and the attachment to labels, because your attachment to that can mean that you're getting something out of it. Not that it's a bad thing. It can be a pivotal starting point and an awareness, but I don't want it to be that scarlet letter and this identity that you now live your life through the lens of, if that makes sense. So to break it down, what complex trauma is, it's when multiple traumatic experiences occur over time and they become difficult to differentiate the effect of one trauma from another. Then you begin to say, well, I didn't have it as bad as, or who am I to say that I had it as bad as? So maybe you're comparing your one event to another one of your events and saying, well, this one was really, really bad. This one wasn't, but actually this one led to this one. There's a connection from that one to that one. Or you're making that connection to someone or something outside of yourself. So someone else's trauma, you're comparing it to yours, their big T to your little t. And again, all of these have an impact on the beliefs that we have about ourselves, this lens that we live our life through, our self-worth, our place in this world, what we feel that we are here to accomplish and achieve. They impact who we are at our core, our purpose, our passion, our identity. And that's the very thing that trauma does, is it chips away at that. And when it chips away at it, it feels like you're left with holes inside of you. It feels like you're left incomplete. It feels like if you were thrown into water, you're going to sink instead of float. You're going to drown instead of be able to swim. You're going to barely maybe survive instead of thrive. So it leads to negative, detrimental, heavy, limiting, negative beliefs that you have about yourself because of all of those little experiences that were very painful, very traumatic to live through. So it feels like you're trapped in this bubble of trauma and you can't get out, because it wasn't just one event that put you in that bubble. It was, well, was it this? And because it was that, and if it was that, what does that mean about me? But it wasn't just that, it was this too. And then it was this, and then it was that, and then it was that. Where in the world do I start? How do I get out of this? So it can feel heavy. It can feel impossible to get out of. It can feel impossible to break free from, because it's not just a one particular once and done event. Because then you could just say, well, that's in the past, right? But what happens is all of those experiences that you logically and literally know are in the past have a connection to the present. And the connection to the present is that belief that you developed about yourself, about from that experience, the attachment to the belief about yourself. So if from that traumatic event or experience, you develop this belief, I'm not good enough, no matter what I do, it will never make a difference. It will never make a change. It won't change things. And I tried my hardest to be perfect. I tried my hardest to be loved. I tried my hardest to stop that person or stop that event or stop that experience from ending the way that it ended, and it ended horribly. So now the inner unconscious belief I have about myself is I'm helpless, I'm hopeless. It's always going to be this way. There's nothing I can do about it, leaving you to feel powerless. Not only did you feel all of those things in that traumatic past experience, but you feel those things today in all experiences. So it impacts your physical health, it impacts your mental health, your spiritual health, your emotional health, and all of your current and present relationships today. Because even though that event logically and literally is in the past, the connection to it are those unconscious beliefs, and those you still have today. Those are inner programming in your mind, and those are the lens that you live your life through. And those impact your attention, those impact your mood, those impact your thoughts, those impact your actions. And that's why most people who've experienced complex trauma have a really difficult time focusing and paying attention. They feel like their mind is like a ping pong machine that's bouncing all over the place, going from here to there, to there, to there. Well, what does that mean? Well, what do they mean when they say that? Oh my gosh, what was I doing? Okay, focus. It's okay. Because of the complex trauma that they experience, their mind doesn't feel safe, feeling calm, at ease, or focused. It feels like it's only okay in the midst of chaos. And the calmness seems scary, even though that's what most people deserve well, everyone deserves, but most people desire. They want to just feel calm. They want to feel lighter. They want to feel like they can focus and complete tasks. But most people have experienced complex trauma find that they have a million things that they've got open, a million mental tabs that they've got open, but they can't close them out. They can't shut them down. They can't complete that task and move on to the next one. So they're in the middle of 5 million things. And of course, that feeling and that experience and that way of living feels chaotic and feels frustrating and feels overwhelming and feels like it's never, ever, ever going to end. So with that, I wanted to share, if you're ready for your complete transformation and breakthrough, to reprogram, rewire the unconscious thoughts that you have about yourself, the beliefs, the feelings, the actions that you have and take now in your present life because of those past traumatic events and experiences. It all begins by connecting with the very core, the very root of that. That thing happened, it made you believe this. That thing happened, it made you believe this. That then happened and it made you believe this. So there is a common core root and connection to all of this, and getting to that, breaking that open impacts everything else that it's connected and related to. So if you're interested and ready for complete transformation, breakthrough, and transformational healing, I would love to connect with you, see if we're a good fit to work together one-to-one. You can find more information in the links below this video for that and for the Transforming Past Pain to Present Power program that I have that takes you on that divine and beautiful journey to healing as well. But wanted to share this as well before we end. You can read all kinds of memes and inspirational, motivational quotes and hear stories, and then hope that that's available for you as well. It absolutely is, but you won't feel that it is, or will it feel impossible to get to or achieve with all of those inner unconscious negative limiting beliefs because of those past traumatic experiences. And with that, majority of people in that stayed or tried to change the situation and tried to prove their worth. And that's the number one thing that's affected, is our worth and our value, who we are, why we're here, what we're here to do, because we all want to feel worthy. We all want to feel loved. We all want to feel connected, accepted, and that we are good enough. And when you have a number of traumatic experiences that happen to you, that's what's affected. You are affected. Your self-worth, your value, your belief in yourself. You begin to question all of that with the questions of, well, why did this happen to me? What does that mean about me now? And generally, when you were trying to stop that and couldn't, and left to feel powerless and helpless and hopeless, or when you were trying to convince them that it's not that way, they were trying to convince you that it is the particular way, in a certain way, because if they could, they got to get to control you, manipulate you. So you may hear things like, I saw this and I thought it was really relevant. Stop trying to convince them that you're a good person, right? Like, let the past be in the past. Stop trying to convince them that you're a good person. And with that, stop trying to convince yourself that you're a good person. So you may overcompensate now to try and convince yourself that you're a good person instead of just knowing that you're a good person. You may overgive, be the people pleaser, be the doormat, be the one that always says yes now, because if you can just prove to other people and convince them that you're a good person, then you may feel that yourself. But there's a difference between feeling, believing, and experiencing. So many people will try and convince other people that they're a good person, that they're not what they experienced from the past, that person made them feel, that they're not a good person. So now they're out to prove and try and convince other people that they are a good person. And that can weigh on you. That can be very, very heavy. That can lead to feelings of depression, trying to fight those internal feelings of resentment and anger because of those complex traumas from the past. And now I'm just trying to be a good person and trying to convince others to see that I am. You can be the best person out there, but someone, I'm reading this, so I apologize for looking down. You can be the best person out there, but someone who has a tainted and cynical vision of the world will see you the way they see the world. So it has nothing to do with you. And I talk with clients about this all the time, who say, logically, I know that, but I don't feel that. And that's the difference between knowing and experiencing. And the healing journey is an experiential journey. It's not a knowing journey. And that's why you can read books and you can do worksheets and do activities and exercises. But those are all kind of a knowing, not truly a experiencing. And that's what transformational healing is. It's an experiential healing, an experiential journey. So, with that quote, you can be the best person out there, and you're more than likely striving to be to prove that you're not all of those traumatic things that happen to you. You're generally trying to fight against that and go another direction. You're trying to swim upstream instead of going with the flow and going with downstream, right? So you can be the best person out there. You can have the best intentions and the most open heart or the most closed off heart, because now you're afraid to let people in. Now you're afraid to let love in. Now you have this belief that love hurts. I will be damned if I'm getting hurt and doing that again, right? So that's why it's so complex. That's why your mind feels like it goes all over the place. So you can read quotes like, you can be the best person out there, but someone who has a tainted and cynical vision of the world will see you the way they see the world. Therefore, AKA, it's not personal. It has nothing to do with you. And you can say, I know that when you're talking about those complex traumas, those past experiences, you can say, yes, I know. But the experience you have speaks differently. So that's why until the unconscious programming is shifted, changed, and transformed, there's a difference between what you can know and what you will experience knowing. So I hope that resonates. I hope that makes sense. And when you're ready to go on that transformation, on that journey to experiential healing, not just a knowing healing, you're more than likely there already, especially if you're watching a video like this and becoming aware of the labels, aware of the symptoms, aware of the experience. There's a knowing, and then there's an experiencing when you're experiencing radical shift, change, and healing. And that all happens within you. So I would love to guide you on that journey if we're a good fit to work together. Like I said, you can find more information in the links below this video. And until then, I hope you have found this video on why complex trauma is so complex helpful. And I look forward to connecting with you again very soon.